Hello everyone, welcome back to the reason I stopped eating a croissant just now. This is a mid-season TWID, and I usually don't make videos on them unless something pretty big is going down. And as you saw from the title of this video, something pretty big is going down. By the time Final Shape hits, Legendary Shards will be completely removed from the game. An iconic currency of the game just gone. So let's talk about why. What Bungie essentially says here is that, look, shard costs are just pretty wonky because we have to try to calibrate them for a very wide range of legendary shards. There are some people out there who have tens of thousands earned completely organically. I have like 20,000 something. I've never used one of these shard exploits, but we have had multiple infinite legendary shard exploits in the game. There are people out there with hundreds of thousands, and Bungie tries to impact how much currency those people have to spend, but it really doesn't do a whole lot because they also need to balance it for the people on the other side of the game who don't really have that much currency. So the people that they're trying to drain currencies from are not really affected, and the people that they're trying to not affect as much are probably the most affected. So as a result, Bungie's like, look, we're throwing in the towel. We're not going to try to balance this economy anymore. It's just way too difficult to balance, and we want, currencies to matter a bit more in the game. And for legendary shards, it's just reached a point of no return. And so they're getting rid of it. Is our goal to make the game easier to understand and reduce the bloat of currencies, consumables, and items while ensuring that players feel like their time is valued for how long they've spent playing the many activities across the game. Sometimes we get it right. Sometimes we don't. We always learn. D1 players will think back to a time where legendary marks were capped at 200. It's very easy for Bungie to balance things when they know the most amount of currency someone will have is 200 of a thing, right? Back in Destiny 1. You could calibrate that for everybody, no matter how often they played. In Destiny 2, we have a lot of currency caps, but legendary shards are not capped, and they are one of the most common currencies in the game. So trying to balance for that fact is incredibly difficult. A lot of people have been like, Glimmer, why is Glimmer capped? Why are all these currencies capped? Like, uncap them. Part of the reason that they are capped is to maintain a little bit of control over the economy. Now, don't get me wrong. Part of it is so that you can't just hoard a bunch of materials and never have to play the game again. Bungie wants you to actually have to play the game. That's why certain currency caps are the way that they are, right? They don't want people hoarding all these things. They want you to use them, or they want you to come back and play the freaking game, right? That's it. But it's also so that they can balance the economy of the game in a more healthy way for everybody, not just the people who have bazillions of shards. So, how is this all going to work? Well, it starts in Season 23. The first thing they're going to do is remove legendary shard costs from the Monument to Lost Lights. Glimmer, Exotic Cipher, and Spoils costs are going to stay the same. It's just legendary shards that are getting removed. Nothing else is like increasing to compensate. It's just like that whole chunk is just gone, and that's it. That's the whole thing. Next, they turn their eyes to ritual gear focusing, fully removing legendary shards from there as well, starting in Season 23. Non-adept focusing will cost ritual engrams and glimmer only. Focusing adept weapons will still require 7 wins in trials or nightfall ciphers. So here are the new costs. So right now, engrams are not the most, they're not super common. But, some of these engram costs 5 engrams for Iron Banner weapons. That seems a little high. That does seem high. I think the main piece of feedback that I've seen on these changes so far is like, okay, I'm in. Man, some of these engram costs are getting up there. They are getting up there. Trials weapons, 5 Nightfall weapons 5, Iron Banner weapons 5. I expect some resistance on that. Everything else is like fine. Okay. Here and here and here, this is where I expect some amount of resistance. I'm actually going to make this a little bit bigger so you guys can actually read it. Okay, that's good. So yeah, that's where I'm expecting some resistance. We'll see how that goes. We'll see where that feedback goes. I could definitely see a world where those costs come down a little bit. With the release of Final Shape, Legendary Shards no longer in D2. They are gone. Literally, like, you're not being compensated. They're not converting it into something else. It's just gone. The whole point is to make them gone. That's it. They're not raising prices in other places. It seems like they really want Glimmer and engrams to be like the main thing that you interact with in order to buy stuff in the game going forward. This is their way of recalibrating their economy. And I gotta say, that's in theory, in concept, that's a very good idea on Bungie's end. They're like, but like I said, they're gone. We're not even gonna have a currency bar anymore. They're just completely eliminated. This does have some impact on things like Glimmer. You can exchange shards for Glimmer still, right? At Rahul. There's not going to be any sort of exchange. They're completely gone. So Glimmer is going to become much more impactful on the game as a whole. You're actually going to have to go out and potentially go earn Glimmer or farm Glimmer at some point. We'll see what that world ends up looking like when we get to Final Shape. But I think that's a sentence that makes some people a bit nervous that they're not going to have their bank of Rahul be able to just supply them with a whole lot of Glimmer for some shards. Because that's what I do. And whenever I run out of Glimmer, it's just like, yep, just give me more Glimmer, and all right, I'm back out. This makes things much more impactful. And that is what Bungie has kind of been going for the past couple of years, is they want your decisions to have more impact. We'll see how that goes. Dismantle rewards, obviously you're not going to get shards anymore. Which also makes me think about the rewards at the end of like strikes and stuff. Yeah, I see a lot of people complaining like, I do the strike and I don't get any rewards. I just get some shards or whatever, even though like 99% of the time you're just going to get shards anyway because you're going to dismantle your rewards. But now you might not like literally get anything at all. So I'm wondering how that's going to change. These feel like pretty okay. You're going to get 1,000 Glimmer from Legendary Armor, 2,000 from Exotic. I feel like they could bring that up to like 5,000 for an Exotic. Yeah, Legendaries are going to give you 1,000. Ghosts are going to give you 1,000. Yeah, not too much pretty different here. Yeah, actual values and drop chances subject to change before launch. Okay. Ships and Sparrows are not listed. They're making those free to pull out of your collections. But in return, when you dismantle them, you will get nothing. And I know a lot of high-level players and hoarders and season preppers and expansion preppers will hoard a bunch of ships and sparrows in their vault as a way to get Glimmer very quickly without having to go to like Rahul or anything like that. They can just pull free Glimmer out of their vault. That's not going to be a thing anymore either. That's gone. You can't do that anymore. So, no more having to worry about that for prepping. Yay. I mean, I never did it. I don't think too many people did it, but I know I never did it. But yeah, that's another thing too. Pretty big deal. One final thing, as Joe mentioned, Xur is going to get an update. With the removal of Legendary Shards, Xur will be looking for some alternative forms of payment for his wares. Alternative being in quotes makes me feel like a potential return to Strange Coins. Strange Coins, for those who didn't play D1, were what you had to use to buy exotics from Xur, and Strange Coins could only be earned in very specific ways. It's not like Legendary Shards, where they just basically come from anywhere in the freaking game. Strange Coins came from very specific places. So I'm wondering if with this update, they're trying to make Xur a bit more appealing to the entire player base, and as a result, maybe trying to do some strange coins. I don't know. I'm just putting it out there. So that pretty much concludes the legendary shards portion of this video. The rest of the TWID, it's got some interesting stuff in it, but that was really the big news that I wanted to kind of discuss. I do think it's a very good move overall for Bungie. I mean, I said a bunch of times during the explanation, they need a way to be able to balance their own economy. That's why these caps exist, is so they can more properly balance the game and the costs of things for all players, not just the people who have, tens of thousands of shards. It's got to be good for the people who don't play that often, who don't have these giant treasure chests full of shards. It's a smart move overall for them, makes things easier for them. I also don't know how many people are like clout chasing based on how many legendary shards they have. Like the Bungie put somewhere in there that was like, we know some people feel very strongly about, their hoarded currencies and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, people use like emblems and gear and that kind of stuff for prestige. I don't know many people who are flaunting their probably exploited amount of legendary shards if they're in the hundreds of thousands or something like that. I'm sure there's people that have hundreds of thousands that did it clean, but there's a lot of people that didn't. So yeah, good move overall. I think people are just worried about the engram costs. I think that's where people are like, ooh, what's going on over there? So anyway, let's move on here. We got some Crota's End numbers, which I always love. Guardians that entered Crota's End, 525,000, 53 million deaths, almost 4 million hours spent in the raid. A little less than half of the people that entered the raid cleared the Abyss, and then a little more than half of the people that cleared the Abyss cleared the bridge, and then about half of that killed Iryut, and then about half of that killed Crota. Very interesting steps there. I feel like people that were capable of clearing the Abyss with how chaotic it ended up being, and still kind of is for some teams, that more people were going to be able to clear the bridge. I also feel like if you could clear the bridge, you could pretty quickly do Iryut, but I definitely understand the step down from Iryut to Crota, because the Crota damage wall for a lot of teams, I imagine, was somewhat significant. Definitely not as brutal as some other damage wall bosses that we've had in the past. But still, tougher, I'd say tougher than your average, a click down from the hardest for sure. I just kind of wish they'd separated it between contest and challenge. Like, I don't know if this is like both combined, or like, is it just contest, or like what are these? So that would have been cool, but always cool to, get these numbers. Speaking of Crota, Necrochasm has been getting so many complaints about how long it's going to take to get, especially for how good the gun is, which is to say it's fine, as I talked about in my most recent video. It's fine, but it's not that fine where we need to spend, 2 months trying to farm essence to get the thing. So Bungie's like, all right, we get it. Okay, you're right. It's taking too long. We're going to give you more essence. So starting next week on the 19th, your first full clear of Crota is going to get you 2 essences. One for killing Crota, and then one for doing just a whole raid start to finish. Just do the full raid. Then every time you do a clear after that, you're going to get a guaranteed essence for another full clear. Then they're increasing the random drop chance of essences just from beating an encounter. So now you can farm it, and you could get multiple in a run if you're lucky. Then on top of that, Bungie's like, what if we made Crota essentially drop Necrochasm and its catalyst? So if you're lucky, which basically sounds like, the exotic drop chance that bosses normally have, you'll be able to get all of the essence to get both the Necrochasm quest and the catalyst done. So Crota could just be like, you know what? 30 essence, baby. There you go. Just on a random kill to just instantly get it, which I actually think is pretty cool. This is all great news. Very, very good move. Thank you for reacting pretty quickly to this feedback. I think a lot of people are going to be happy about that. The next piece of feedback, I think, would be maybe giving Necrochasm a little bit of a boost, but that's not exactly what we're talking about right now. Very, very good move here. Next, we have, also coming on the 19th, we have challenge modes. We got master difficulty. It doesn't look like anything is really changing here with like how challenges are done or how Masters done. This is just kind of like, hey, you're going to be able to go get your title. And also the adept weapons are going to start dropping. And don't forget that you can kind of turn them into crafted weapons and enhance them like we did with Root of Nightmares. So yeah, this is just like a, hey, on the 19th, that's when it starts, week 1, and then week 2, 3, 4, and then it goes back to week 1, and you do 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you're a title grinder, there you go. We got some PvP updates and some Sandbox updates coming in here. Not exactly my forte. Consult your local PvP expert for a bit more information on these. This is going to be a much more broad, from the outside looking in kind of POV. First up, we got a new Iron Banner mode, which is called Tribute. It's based kind of on Supremacy, where you're going to be able to deposit your crests at a station to get points for the team. And if you drop in a whole lot at once, it's going to trigger a hunt phase, which activates a special tribute station. And if you dunk your crests into the special one, they're worth more points and I actually kind of like Supremacy. Like, I think it's fun. I like it more than Clash, I feel like, because there's at least a little bit more going on. So I'll try it out. They're also going to be bringing back Citadel from Dreaming City. Another map that I was like, yeah, okay. Like, I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it or anything like that. It's kind of in the middle. They're also adjusting some spawns for Altar of Flames, Cauldron, Anomaly, Dead Cliffs, and they're adding some Strand-related Crucible medals in Season 23. All those things were for Season 23 as well, not this season. Sandbox stuff. Coming later in Season 22, we have 2 big adjustments. One of them maybe a little expected. One of them, not so much. Antaeus wards. These will now require a full class ability energy to reflect incoming damage. Reflecting damage will deplete your class ability energy. So it doesn't sound like you'll be able, like, anytime you slide, your energy is just gone. It's only when you actually reflect damage, but there's a chance that you have some moments where you reflect some like chip damage or some non-damage, and all of a sudden your class ability energy is completely gone. They want it to have a bit more, they want you to actually think about your use a bit more, and also reduce the uptime. The main goal is to reduce the uptime so you're not reflecting shots all for the entire game. You need to make some kind of a trade-off, and they're also trying to make it a bit more difficult to stag with Juggernaut Shield, which can also be, you got a Juggernaut Shield, you got an Antaeus Shield. It's a lot of shielding, makes up-close engagements very, very difficult if you're on the receiving end of that. So, bit understandable, but I do think they're still going to be pretty good. They're definitely going to linger. How much they're going to linger, I think, depends on if any other changes are coming to any other exotics. But I think these are still going to be around. They're just not going to be around as much in actual gameplay. Young Ahamkara's Spine kind of feels like it comes out of nowhere. It's like one of those things where it's like, oh, it makes sense, but you just didn't see it coming. Reducing the impact on grenade uptime by making it grant energy on final blows instead of damage. This sound like, I'm not even sure what this nerf is for, PvE or PvP specifically, because I know there's some Yas PvE builds out there that are very, very strong, but also like they weren't really that, I didn't think of them as being that strong that it needed an adjustment. So this makes me feel like it's more PvP oriented. I don't know, Hunters, speak up on this one. Like, I don't know if there was something absolutely crazy going on, or if it's just like, look, there's too many freaking trip mines on every single wall in PvP, bro. It's like a Mission Impossible over here. Clue me in on that. I don't really play. I barely even play with Young Ahamkara's Spine, so clue me in on that. Does make a little bit of sense, at least for PvP, but PvE feels kind of like, ooh, that build might get slapped a little bit, or a lot bit. Coming in Season 23, SMGs, globally increasing the recoil on SMGs to make it more of a costly trade-off to spec into range over stability. I mean, SMGs are just so dominant in most parts of the game entirely, PvE and PvP. So a little understandable to kind of rein them in. Snipers getting a body shot nerf in the Crucible, and I'm guessing this is somewhat tangentially related to the fact that they are increasing the airborne accuracy of snipers and slugs to be equivalent to pre-airborne effectiveness Icarus at their base values. If it's not related to that, I would be interested in knowing what's up with that as someone who is a mediocre sniper at best. They're also getting a damage buff in PvE. They did get one recently. It didn't really move the needle at all. Interested to see what's going on there. Fusion rifles decreasing kickstart damage bonus, and damage is going to fall off at longer ranges. This feels very much like a PvP focused nerf, especially kickstart. Kickstart is much more of a PvP perk than a PvE one, especially with the release of Controlled Burst now, which is like the PvE perk. This feels very targeted PvP. I don't really consider fusions in PvE to be very problematic. I think they're in a pretty good spot as far as I'm concerned. So PvP I can understand a bit because some fusions pop off. Next, we have Peregrine Greaves, which I've only very recently dipped my toes back into PvP for a little bit. I've played a lot for Necrochasm. I tried doing some Warden's Law stuff, which I did not like. And I saw, way more Peregrine Greaves than I ever have. And Bungie has taken note. I don't know how recent of a thing this is. This could be like Datto, it's been a thing for like 6 months now. I don't know. But Bungie is changing Peregrines so that the bonus shoulder charge damage only is procced by being airborne for a short time. They don't want people just like running along the ground and you do a little tiny jump and you're 3 inches off the ground and you get that full damage bonus, which I understand. It took me by surprise. I was like, was I hurt just then? I'm pretty sure this guy just killed me through an overshield. Like, what's going on? So understandable. I'm very interested in the PvE stuff, trying to make shoulder charge alive in PvE again, producing or providing significantly more bonus damage and refunding your melee charge when used against champions, tormentors, and mini bosses. How much are we talking? I'm interested, right? Getting up close to champions, generally not a good idea, as we'll talk about in my Hunter Strand video coming probably tomorrow, if you're watching this on the 14th. Very interested, because shoulder charge in PvE is pretty not that exciting right now. So I'm interested. Syntheseps removing the extra lunge range. They're adding in improved weapon handling and reload speed when you're surrounded. They're also walking back some of the nerf to glaive melee damage as well. Syntho is just another one of those exotics that I just don't use that much because I find them boring, but man, are they good. As I've said a bajillion times, I feel like the past 2 seasons. I guess Bungie's just kind of done with the extra lunge range. Vibes of like what they did to Knockout for, I think, this season, right? This season, where they're just kind of tired of Titan punch dominance and all that kind of stuff. So that's understandable. But again, consult your local PvP expert on something like that. I'm definitely not a PvP expert. And then there's more exotic armor updates coming in Season 23 as well. They also got a bunch of PvP feedback. If you're on Twitter, they put out a big thread being like, hey, PvP, what's up with that? Give us your feedback. So apparently that went well. I think Fallout just put a video out on him like kind of responding to some feedback that he saw. You can check that out as well for some more info on that. Finally, we have Checkmate, which is another PvP thing. So this is the second Crucible Labs thing that they're doing. The first few weeks was Relic, which I participated in. I thought it was actually pretty fun. But Checkmate, I'm definitely a bit more interested in because this feels like Bungie's way of reacting to community feedback that has been given for the past several years of like, man, I wish we had like a PvP mode that didn't have abilities and was just guns and that kind of stuff. And so Bungie's like, here's what we're doing. Reduce passive generation for grenade, melee, and class abilities by 50%. Passive generation for supers by 40%. We're trying to knock down how many abilities are going out. Next, everyone's getting a small bump in health. So that's going to adjust time to kill across basically everything. There might be some new guns that become meta guns specifically in Checkmate because of just how the math works out with like how much health we have versus how much headshot, body shot damage that we do. So going to be an interesting change of pace there. Next, you don't spawn with special ammo. You're gonna get it from generating points from kills, assists, deaths, zone captures, generating heavy ammo. You're not going to lose points on death. The special ammo you earn persists through lives and rounds, and you do not drop your special ammo on death. So they're also trying to seemingly limit how much special ammo is in the game mode. It feels like it very much wants to be primary weapon damage focused, these longer engagements. And I'm interested. I'm interested in that. Crucible, as of right now anyway, the past few days that I've been playing, it's a lot of abilities. It's a lot of abilities. Everything is supplemented by an ability. If every engagement feels like there's an ability going off, and this is Bungie's way of being like, all right, what if not so many abilities? And what if not maybe so much special? Still need to see how much special you'll end up getting. But like, what if not as much that? What if like Diet Destiny? You know what I mean? So I'm interested to see how that works out. Relic will be coming back for the last 4 weeks of Season of the Witch. But for the next few weeks, I thought they said it was going to be 4, 6, and 2. I guess they're just doing 4, 4, 4 now. No, it is 6 weeks. Okay, I guess we have a longer season. Is it a longer season? It might be a longer season. I don't know. But either way, next 6 weeks is going to be Checkmate. So I'm going to be checking that out. That is it. We got Trials of Osiris coming back, Igneous Hammer. The perk pool for Igneous Hammer is really good. It's really, really good. I know there's been a lot of like Warden's Law hype this week because it was the Nightfall weapon of the week. Bungie changed it from the Swarm to Warden's Law. I have played around with Warden's Law in PvE and PvP, multiple roles. I didn't find it to be anything remotely special, maybe outside of a Lucky Pants Hunter setup. I don't know if I'm going to make a video on it. I'm leaning towards no, but like I'm running out of things to talk about, so I might. But by the time Igneous Hammer rolls around and everyone's got their hands on a new Igneous Hammer with these new updated perks, I think a lot of people are going to forget about Warden's Law. So, yeah. Look out for that coming in Trials if you're a Trials player. That's it. That's it from me. Thanks for watching. Let me know how you're feeling about the Legendary Shard situation, the Engram situation as a result. Pretty interesting stuff. Pretty interesting stuff from Bungie trying to reclaim the economy, trying to get a better grasp on the economy for Final Shape and beyond. Good move overall. Very, very good move overall. But yeah, let me know what you think. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.